The story begins with a young boy named Bryce, who shares his perspective. He recalls that his trouble started back in 1957, the year his family moved to a new neighborhood. As they settle into their new home, we see Bryce arriving with his parents, adjusting to the unfamiliar surroundings. Just then, a girl named Juli, who lives nearby, appears. She gazes at Bryce with intense curiosity, almost as if she's trying to read his soul. Moments later, both Bryce and Juli walk over to his father, who's busy unloading their belongings. They offer to help, but Bryce's dad politely asks them to step aside. As Bryce heads toward the house, Juli suddenly grabs his hand, startling him. He quickly retreats and hides behind his mother, clearly overwhelmed by the unexpected gesture. Soon, it's revealed that both Bryce and Juli attend the same school. Juli constantly follows Bryce around, which makes her a target for teasing by other students. Despite the awkwardness, she remains persistent. Now in 6th grade, Bryce grows increasingly uncomfortable with Juli's attention. To shake her off, he decides to date another girl, someone Juli absolutely dislikes. Bryce starts spending time with this new girl, hoping Juli will finally stop chasing him. But one day, he accidentally reveals the truth behind his intentions. The girl feels betrayed and, in a moment of anger, slaps Bryce and walks away. Later, in a classroom scene, Juli is seen gently smelling Bryce's hair, which leaves him feeling awkward and confused. Then, the narrative shifts to Juli's point of view. She shares of the first time she saw Bryce in 1957. She looked into his eyes and felt something magical, like she was lost in them. In that moment, she knew she had found love. When Bryce's family was unloading their things, she wanted to help his father, but wasn't allowed to. As Bryce walked into the house, she impulsively held his hand, hoping to spend time with him. She thought maybe this was the beginning of something special. But then his mother appeared, and Bryce, flustered and shy, hid behind her. That night, Juli reflects on what her mother once told her, that some people never express their feelings openly. She wonders if Bryce might be one of them. At school, she continues to follow him, simply because she enjoys being around him. When Bryce starts dating the girl Juli despises, it hurts her deeply. But when that girl slaps Bryce, Juli secretly feels a sense of satisfaction. She always loved the way Bryce's hair smelled, and that's why she found comfort in being close to him. Once again, Bryce shares his side of the story. He explains that things became even more complicated when his grandfather moved in with them. The old man rarely spoke to Bryce, but he would often sit by the window, quietly watching Juli's house across the street. One day, he calls Bryce over and shows him a newspaper featuring a photo of Juli. Bryce then tells his grandfather about a tree near the bus stop, a tree that Juli is deeply attached to. She climbs it often and has invited Bryce to join her several times, but he never did. Then one day, officials from the city arrive with plans to cut the tree down. In protest, Juli climbs up and refuses to come down. She urges Bryce to climb up with her, but he chooses to walk away instead. Eventually, the tree is spared, and that's why Juli's photo appears in the newspaper. Hearing this, Bryce's grandfather is genuinely impressed by Juli's courage and tells Bryce that he's lucky to have a friend like her. The next day at school, Bryce notices Juli sitting alone, looking heartbroken. It turns out the tree she tried so hard to protect has finally been cut down. Bryce considers going over to comfort her, to offer some support. But then a thought crosses his mind. What if Juli misinterprets his gesture as something romantic? That hesitation holds him back, leaving the moment unresolved. Now, Juli shares her perspective. She tells us that her father is a painter, someone who creates truly beautiful artwork. One day, while spending time with him, he gently points out that she often talks about Bryce. She always mentions how much she admires his eyes and his smile. Her father listens patiently and then offers a thoughtful insight. You can't truly like someone just because of a few qualities. If you really care about someone, you should try to understand everything about them. Juli doesn't quite grasp what he means at the time. Then, one afternoon, a kite gets stuck in the branches of a tree. The same tree that had once been marked for removal, the one Juli had tried so hard to protect. As she climbs up to retrieve the kite, She's struck by the breathtaking view of the entire town from above. That moment leaves a lasting impression on her. From then on, Juli begins climbing the tree regularly, simply to take in the beauty of the world around her. It becomes her peaceful escape. And when the city workers return to cut the tree down, she climbs it once again, determined to save it. She even asks Bryce to join her in protest, hoping he'll stand by her side. But instead, he walks away, leaving Juli deeply hurt. Later, her father surprises her with a painting of that very tree, a gesture that brings her comfort. It's in that moment Juli begins to realize something important. Maybe Bryce isn't as wonderful as she once believed. Now Bryce opens up again, as sharing that he never really liked eating eggs. Juli, who owns a bunch of chickens, used to bring fresh eggs to his family almost every day. But Bryce never liked those eggs. He found them unpleasant, and the idea of eating them didn't sit well with him. During the school science exhibition, Juli gave a presentation explaining how a chick is born from an egg within an hour. Her demonstration was so impressive that she won first prize. But instead of feeling proud or happy for her, Bryce felt annoyed and uncomfortable. Later, while having dinner with his parents, Bryce's father mentions they need a rooster and suggests Bryce ask Juli if she is one. Bryce, however, doesn't want to talk to her. So he sneaks over to Juli's house with a friend and peeks inside, trying to spot a rooster. When he doesn't see one, he tells his dad they don't have it. His father then starts questioning the hygiene of the eggs Juli brings, and the family decides to stop accepting them. Bryce is asked to tell Juli they no longer need the eggs, but he avoids the conversation. Instead, every time Juli dropped off the eggs, Bryce would secretly throw them into the trash. Juli now shares her experience. For her science project, she chooses a fascinating topic: how a chick develops inside an egg within just 1 hour. Her presentation is so well executed that she wins the top prize. Inspired by this, she begins experimenting with the eggs laid by her own chickens at home, nurturing them into chicks. Over time, her backyard fills with eggs, and she realizes that no one in her family is using them. So, she decides to turn it into a small business. She even approaches Bryce, hoping to involve him in the venture. One day, Bryce asks her why she no longer rides the school bus. Ever since the tree was cut down, she stopped taking the bus. Hearing this makes Juli feel warm inside. She starts to believe that maybe Bryce cares about her more than she thought. Lost in her thoughts, she begins to imagine a deeper connection between them. But that illusion shatters quickly. As Bryce steps out of his house, he doesn't notice Juli nearby. He's carrying a bag of trash, and inside are the very eggs Juli had lovingly given him. Seeing this breaks her heart. Bryce then tells her that his father doesn't consider her home hygienic enough. He mentions that the area outside her house isn't well maintained, and because of that, his family has decided not to accept her eggs anymore. These words hit Juli hard. Feeling deeply hurt and humiliated, she walks away in silence. Bryce continues his story, revealing that after the incident with the eggs, Juli completely stops talking to him. She no longer follows him around, and that sudden silence begins to bother him more than he expected. One day, while peeking into Juli's house, Bryce is surprised and frustrated to see his grandfather working alongside her. The sight makes him angry. Later, his grandfather approaches him and shares that Juli had told him everything about the eggs. He gently reminds Bryce that a person's character begins to form at this age, and that it's important to face challenges and changes head-on. He encourages Bryce to accept things as they are and learn from them. The next day, Bryce tries to make things right by apologizing to Juli, but she doesn't forgive him. That evening, while Bryce is sitting with his family, his father criticizes the grandfather for frequently visiting Juli's house. In response, the grandfather explains that he's simply helping clean up their yard, as their living conditions aren't ideal. He shares that Juli's father spends most of his earnings on his brother's medical treatment, Juli's uncle, who has special needs. Hearing this, Bryce's father makes an insensitive remark, suggesting that their family must have bad genes. This comment deeply offends Bryce's mother, and she abruptly leaves the room. Later, Bryce asks his grandfather why his mom got so upset. The grandfather then reveals something personal. When Bryce was born, a tube had gotten stuck in his throat. If it hadn't been removed in time, Bryce could have ended up just like Juli's uncle. This revelation hits Bryce hard. For the first time, he realizes how close he came to facing the same challenges, and it changes the way he sees everything. Juli then shares how deeply hurt she felt when Bryce told her that his father believed her home wasn't hygienic enough, and that's why they stopped accepting her eggs. That comment stings, and she decides to talk to her parents about it. She tells them she wants to clean up the yard, and soon begins working hard to make their home look better. During this time, Bryce's grandfather visits Juli and tells her he saw her photo in the newspaper. He says that if his wife were still alive, she would have been thrilled to meet someone like Juli. He tells her she reminds him of his late wife, and from that moment on, he starts helping her with the yard work. A sweet friendship begins to blossom between Juli and Bryce's grandfather. Meanwhile, Juli has completely lost interest in Bryce. But for Bryce, that change starts to bother him more and more. He finds himself watching her in class, unable to look away. One of his friends notices and later pulls him aside in the library. There, Bryce opens up and admits that he's starting to develop feelings for Juli. His friend is shocked, reminding him how messy and unhygienic Juli's house is. He questions how Bryce could possibly like someone he used to dislike so much. But Bryce explains that Juli's family is going through a tough time. Her uncle isn't well, and most of their money goes toward his care. His friend then makes a cruel remark, comparing Juli to her uncle and suggesting she might be not normal too. Bryce feels a surge of anger, but chooses to suppress it. Instead of arguing, he simply agrees and walks away, quietly processing everything. Juli now shares another heartfelt moment from her life. She recalls going to visit her uncle on his birthday, accompanied by her dad. When she arrives, she's touched to discover that her uncle has carefully saved all her photographs over the years. They head out for ice cream, and while enjoying the treat, her uncle accidentally drops his cone. The situation begins to draw uncomfortable attention from others around them. But before things escalate, Juli quickly brings him a fresh ice cream, calming the moment with kindness. That day, spending time with her uncle fills her with joy. Later at home, Juli tells her mother that Bryce's parents have invited their family over for dinner. At school, she shares the news with her friend, who responds with curiosity. Her friend mentions that Bryce kept glancing at Juli during class and suggests that maybe he's starting to like her. Juli finds the idea strange and unexpected. Meanwhile, Bryce is in the library with his friend, opening up about his growing feelings for Juli. He even talks about her uncle, trying to explain the challenges her family faces. But his friend reacts insensitively, suggesting that Juli might be not normal like her uncle. Bryce doesn't like the comment at all, but instead of confronting it, he quietly agrees and walks away. Unbeknownst to him, Juli overhears the entire conversation. That evening, Juli's family arrives at Bryce's house for dinner. Bryce tries to talk to her, but Juli brings up the hurtful remark he made in the library. She tells him she heard him say she might be like her uncle, and the moment leaves Bryce stunned and uncomfortable. During dinner, Bryce's father comes across as arrogant, especially when speaking to Juli's family. Juli's two brothers, both highly intelligent, are also present. Bryce's father assumes they won't be able to attend college due to their financial situation, but it turns out they've already secured admission. This moment makes Bryce reflect deeply. He begins to realize that he's slowly becoming like his father, and that's not the kind of person he wants to be. The next day at school, a charity auction event is announced. Teacher explains that each boy will step onto the stage, and the girls will place bids to win a date with them. All the money raised will be donated to an NGO. When the event begins, Bryce finds himself on stage, scanning the crowd until his eyes meet Juli's. But before anything happens, another boy steps up. He's incredibly smart, but not conventionally attractive. No one places a bid on him. That's when Juli steps forward and places a bid, choosing to go on a date with him. When Bryce's turn comes, the wealthiest girl in school places the highest bid, securing a date with him. Later, during the outing, Bryce is physically present with the girl, but mentally, he's consumed by thoughts of Juli. In a moment of impulse, he stands up, walks over to Juli, grabs her hand, and leans in as if to kiss her. But Juli pulls her hand away and walks off without saying a word. Bryce follows her home, hoping to explain, but she refuses to talk to him. Juli then shares what was going through her mind during the auction. Her friend had encouraged her to bid on someone popular, but Juli was still upset with Bryce and didn't want to engage with him. Yet, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Just before the event, a neighbor, who used to buy eggs from her, gave Juli some money so she could participate. As she heads to the auction, the same wealthy girl who bid on Bryce tells Juli she doesn't stand a chance. But when the bidding begins, Juli chooses to place her bid on the boy no one else wanted, showing her kindness once again. Later, when Bryce tries to kiss her, Juli realizes something important. She's waited her whole life for a moment like this, but it shouldn't feel ordinary. So she walks away. The next day, Juli feels low, but then notices something surprising. Her yard has been completely cleaned. She sees Bryce outside, working in the spot where her favorite tree once stood. When she asks her dad about it, he says he gave Bryce permission. As she steps outside, she sees Bryce planting a sapling in the same place where the old tree used to be, the one she used to climb. That gesture melts away all her anger and disappointment. Together, they plant the tree, and as they press the soil around it, their hands touch. They look at each other and share a gentle smile. In that moment, it's clear they've finally accepted each other, and they're ready to move forward together. And that's how this heartfelt love story blossoms. Two souls growing together through moments of silence, misunderstanding, and finally, acceptance. It's not just a tale of young romance, but a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful connections take time to bloom. If this story stirred something in you, made you smile, or brought back memories of your own first love, then don't forget to show some love back. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more beautiful stories that speak straight to the heart.